Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome online. I know we had planned to be in person in Rome today, but with the turn of the weather, the last couple of days and some other planning issues, we had to shift back to the virtual format, which was not my preferred um, way of meeting with you, particularly since this is the last Canal Recreationway Commission meeting that I'll have the opportunity to chair. But as you know from my earlier communication, I have decided to hang up my captain's hat and enter the retired world beginning January 1st. But it's been a wonderful nearly 15 years, 14 years and change. If I stayed till April, it would be 15 years. But it's been a wonderful, wonderful run, and we've done some great work together. Certainly, the Canal Recreation Way Commission has been through fits and starts, and I know we're in a strong position now to carry on. And I think with everything that we have going on under Governor Hochul, under the leadership from Justin and the chairman and trustees of the Power Authority and the Canal Corporation Board of Directors, we are in a very strong position now to begin the canal's next 100 years. So this is an exciting opportunity for all of us. And some of you joined with us last week in Saratoga, and that was a wonderful affair. So thank you for making that trip. And I'm sorry we couldn't continue that merriment in person today. I'm not sure I would have gotten home from Rome, but that wouldn't have been such a bad thing. But it's great. So we are here, and I was with the trustees earlier this week in White Plains. As always, Trustee B. Gonzalez is on with us today. Welcome, Trustee Gonzalez. And I had a very wonderful tribute that I received from our chairman and our trustees and Justin. And it was wonderful. Two wonderful citations, one from the governor, one from the trustees and our friends at NIPA and Canals, which was written in a very curious way, but had a lot of inside humor and inside information in it. So I know it comes right from the heart, only the things that our crew would know. We'll see if we can share those with you. So beyond that, we do have an agenda today, albeit a short one. We hope you are getting ready for a wonderful holiday season. And this is the fourth quarter meeting. So welcome and introductions. I don't know that we need to do introductions, but I will call on you or I will shout you out as we go out through the whole meeting. And as always, we have a quorum, so we'll come to order. And as always, the first order of business is to approve the minutes that were from meeting 121, which I know was also held virtually. Did we hold that, Kim, in September or October?
October.
Whatever it was, we had that meeting virtually. And if you've all received those minutes, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Mayor Patorti, which, by the way, is returned to the mayor's seat for the third consecutive time. And let's see if he can go for 4.
No.
Thank you, Mayor. Is it second? Is there a second?
Cal, I second.
Cal is seconded. Okay, the minutes have been moved and seconded. Discussion on the minutes? Any discussion? Seeing none, we will take a vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes and moving forward, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. The minutes are approved and we move on. Well, the bicentennial has been a tremendous end to a wonderful year, and we had so many events, and I know that I've kept you informed all along the way, but we do have a wonderful video put together by the NIPA and the Canal Corporation video team and Becky Blanchard in the Syracuse office. So we're going to share that video and put the bicentennial to music in a very rapid fashion. So Kim, if you want to play that, that would be great.
We're starting our 200th navigation season here, and it's a spectacular day.
Transportation 8.
Mocked as the Big Ditch, it connected the Hudson River to the Great Lakes. Tom.
What's the Erie Canal?
Right again.
The Department of Motor Vehicles launched a fabulous Erie Canal commemorative license plate. I am proud to say that I have one on my car. Stratton here at Canal Side for day one of the World Canals Conference. It is an incredible honor this morning to join with all of you for this truly historic anniversary, the bicentennial of the opening of the Erie Canal.
I congratulate everyone who's been part of this story, keeping the story alive, passing it on to the next generation. And I'm really proud to be governor at this moment in history, to stand on the shoulders of another governor who is one of the greatest visionaries our state has ever seen.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. What a great season it was, and what a great completion when we reached New York City and the Seneca Chief after its 33-day journey, and 18 community stops pulled into New York Harbor just before October 26th. And the governor joined us, as well as some of our bicentennial commissioners and our CRC members. And it was just a marvelous occasion. And then, of course, what is not in the video, we went on to the Roosevelt House for the following evening with a wonderful panel discussion on the impact of the Erie Canal on New York City specifically. So just a great thing. I know we didn't get to do everything that we would have liked to have done. When I turned on the television on Thanksgiving morning and watched the Macy's parade, I thought, darn it, we should have tried to get a float into the Macy's parade. But that might have been a little bit hard. But thank you all for all that you did to contribute to this. I apologize. I'm a little coughing here, but we're going to move on. And any other comments on the bicentennial? Rebecca, would you like to add anything to what we've done and what we've seen?
Well, first of all, thank you for presiding over this final meeting. I'm sorry you're under the weather. I'm sorry we couldn't all be together. I think we're all probably thankful for not sharing, the love of the cold, but it would have been nice to have one last gathering. I just want to say this is, the bicentennial didn't happen on its own. I know leading up to this year, there were so many questions about what is Canal Corp doing, expectations from our stakeholder groups and communities. It took us some time to, kind of get our playbook in order, but I hope that everyone is, feels really proud and satisfied with the myriad ways that we commemorated this year. There's so many things that were not captured in that very brief video. And I know that our staff really put their all into everything, that was accomplished this year, as did our partners at Canal New York, the Canal Society, Erie Canal National Heritage Corridor, and of course CRC members. So I know that I feel like my cup is really full, and I'm looking back on this year with a lot of gratitude, and I hope that others are satisfied with that as well. It was just, I think, very well-rounded and multifaceted. So congratulations to everyone. And Brian, what a triumphant year. I don't know that there, could be any better time to, to step away, because it was just such a triumphant year, and one that I think really reflects a legacy that's more well-rounded than it wouldn't have, if you hadn't been at the helm. So, congratulations to everyone, but especially to you, Brian.
Thank you, Rebecca. Very nice of you. Thank you so much. We do have our final Bicentennial Commission meeting next week. We're putting together a final report on most of the things that were accomplished. More than 400,000 people, more than 400 events, just an exceptional year. And I want to shout out and salute Jean McKay from the Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor. I know Jean is on. I don't see every participant on the screen, on the version of the screen that I have yet, but I know Jean is here, and Jean and Bob and her team did a wonderful job in organizing that Erie Canal Bicentennial calendar of events, which changed, if not hourly, certainly daily. And so many events that we could not keep up. So at the risk of getting run down, we had lots of fun, and it's a wonderful thing. So Jean, thank you so much for all of that. We're going to go on. And anyone else have any other comments before I proceed to the next item on the agenda on the bicentennial? Cal, as chair or the immediate past chair of the Erie Canalway Heritage Corridor, would you like to offer anything?
Sure. I would like to say thank you to the Canal Corporation and to Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor and all the communities that celebrated and commemorated the bicentennial. It exceeded my expectations. When I started to see the newspaper roll out with just articles and articles, and then they started to use logos, I thought we made it. We got there. And in no small way is that not attributable to you, Brian, and the staff. Just excellent job. It was fun. I learned stuff, and I think people learned stuff too. So just I echo what Rebecca said, and thank you to the commissioners and to everyone who participated.
There was a lot of planning, a lot of travel, a lot of meetings, headaches too. We had a curveball thrown at us when we went to the World Canals Conference, so we had to briefly shift next door to the convention center, but we, weathered that storm, and a record attendance, nearly 500, if not 500 people, 22 states, 11 countries, just a smash home run. Let me ask Jean if you'd like to say anything on behalf of Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor.
Brian, thank you. Just again, it was a great partnership, and I was so pleased with the way the bicentennial rolled out and with the events and activities. And I really appreciate you being on the road so much and being the face at Canal Corporation for going to those many, many events. But it was a great year, and we're looking to really springboard that momentum into next year and beyond.
Well, it'll be tough to keeping it as exciting, but hopefully you get a chance to continue to travel. We have a wonderful new calendar that's out, your new edition. I don't have a picture of it to show you, but it's an exciting time. You know how much I love the calendar, and I've been gifted a whole box of them, so I'm going to take them and give them to my neighbors and friends as a lovely parting gift. Okay, let's go on to the next item. And that is a update on the CRC 2050 plan. And here with us is Justine Heilner to give us an update. Justine, welcome.
Thanks, Brian, and congratulations to you and everyone. It really has been an amazing year. It's been great being a part of this group, which was started by my helping with the CRC plan. And, we finished it over a year ago, just about a year ago. And we haven't really rolled it out to the public in a big way, although we started to in September. And what we're looking forward to now that we've spent a long time looking at the past is thinking about the future. You all were very instrumental in it, and we're grateful for that. I don't have a big update today, but what I wanted to do was kind of set the stage for going into the new year and trying to take the momentum that we have from this past really exciting year and apply it to looking toward the future. If you saw my email, or Kim forwarded my note yesterday, I thought it would be great as a sort of way to ground ourselves to spend a few minutes today thinking about the CRC and where we've come from and where we're going, and then talk about priorities and things we'd like to touch on and start thinking about next year. What I'm hoping is that in our first meeting in the next quarter, we'll actually have, hopefully we'll be in person, first of all. I think it would be easier. And we can really have a deep dive workshop into strategizing how we want to advance the priorities that were laid out so well in the plan. Kim, is it possible to not share the screen? Since I don't have slides, I thought it would be nice to see faces. And I would love if folks would go around the room and tell me a little bit about the past. I jumped into the CRC without a real clear explanation of what you all do, but I've learned over the time. And I'm curious, especially for folks who've been involved for a long time, to hear what you saw about how the CRC worked over time and what you would like to bring forward as a group. And Brian, I'd love to hear your perspective. You've been chairing for a long time, so I'd love to hear, maybe you can kick us off.
Well, thank you. It's just been wonderful, and I think one of the logical question as we wrap the bicentennial and begin our 201st year is, where do we go from here? And fortunately, the magnificent work that the CRC has done under the leadership of Cal and Justine and Rebecca to get us to that point has really laid out that strategic plan. And so it's just lovely. I've seen so many changes, so many additions, a lot of transformation, and it's just remarkable. I think I've talked enough, but I'd love to hear what some of the other members say, and I'll reserve the right to chime back in. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, I've heard, and I'll just sort of jump in a little bit. What I'm really curious to hear about is I've heard that what you do has changed over time. And I'm kind of curious to hear, for the folks who were in the CRC for a long time, what you did many years ago, and maybe what you think you might do in the future if we, form task forces or regional groups or, anything like that. Like, what would you like to see in your group that could help us work together? Do I have volunteers to start? Cal's unmuted.
I can start, but I don't want to take too much time. But yes, thank you. I think when I first was appointed as a CRC commissioner, it was a big deal, right? It was a big deal. You're appointed by the governor and rooted in legislation. There are duties that are spelled out by law for commissioners. And we took those responsibilities very seriously. And we met quarterly on a regular basis. And I remember not just hearing and getting involved in, like the operations and maintenance and some of the issues that the Canal Corporation faced, but what were communities facing as well? And what were we hearing? And I think as commissioners, our goal was to listen and report back and then try to help find solutions. Again, rooted in legislation. Over time, we kind of lost some of that. We used to approve a canal development budget. We used to take a closer look at some of the numbers and some other things. And over time, that's gone away. Looking forward, I would like to see us continue to do the things that are stated in the legislation and to adhere to the law. If that changes, or if there's updates to the legislation, or there's things that need to be addressed, I'd like to see us move in that direction. I'd like to see the CRC, as we look at the 2050 plan, be prepared both in number and expertise to take on some of those challenges. And that might be leaning into some other state agencies and regional planning groups, parks, for example, DEC, DOT, where appropriate, using the expertise and calling on other state agencies so we can be more effective. I like working with the commissioners. I think folks are very, very dedicated to the canal and to seeing its success. I don't want that to go away. I like to connect with commissioners as often as possible because they're really super smart and they really have a lot of different ideas about how to be successful. So I'll stop there. I know we have some other things about plan priorities, but that's the CRCC to me.
Thanks, Cal. Michelle, I see you're unmuted. Do you have something?
I have not been on the CRC as long as Cal has, and I kind of look up to her, and we kind of lock arms sometimes and have the same perspective, which I think is a very good thing. I think the 2050 plan for me really brought everything into focus so that that we could really move forward for the future years and really get a good direction. I'm also quite passionate about the folks who are real heroes along the canal, maybe the unsung heroes that are really keeping some of the towns and destinations along the canal pertinent and up to date and giving excellent history. And, I think we should, within the 2050 plan, we should celebrate those folks as well, sort of the unsung heroes. Certainly learned a lot about canal operations. Brian, I think you even let me push the button one year to open the canal, which was great fun. I was like, that's all there is. So it's been, I will echo what Cal said, it's been a great experience. Quarterly meetings are tough because, and especially, now with virtual meetings too, you don't get the collegiality, I think, that a lot of other boards get. So we have to try a little bit harder to do that. But overall, and especially with this past year under our belt, I think we're headed in the right direction. And with certainly with the 2050 plan as well, that again, we're headed in the right direction.
Thanks, Michelle. Anyone else want to reflect on sort of longer history of being a commissioner or your understanding of what you should be focusing on?
I'm not one of the longer standing ones. I'm on maybe just before Cal came on, I think. So I don't know how many years. But I like to say I'm in of the northern end of Lake Champlain or the Champlain Canal. And someday when I really retire, I'm going to spend more time helping the CRC. But right now it's just been crazy. But one thing I like to get coming into Whitehall from Lake Champlain, I know we're the Erie Canal, but it doesn't say Champlain Canal. I'd like to have Champlain somewhere on there. That's my goal right now. Get Champlain up there when they come in from Canada.
It's great to have concrete goals.
But I said, hopefully after April this year, I'll be good. We'll see. But again, it was a great experience. That plan is excellent. That 2050 plan is super. They did a great job with that. So thank you very much, you guys. And that's it.
Thanks, Rob. Ken?
Yes, thank you. I've only been on for a short time, but the perception of CRC wasn't meeting regularly. There was some gaps. That changed greatly once leadership got involved, like Brian and others, to catalyst that. And Kim's done a remarkable job to keep us on task, provide information. Fast forward, I'm on the western end of the canal system. We're a farming community up here a lot of times, and there's a perception because of the bridges. We just fill it in. We can't get over, can't get produce over. So we've worked hard on the marketing. It's a little bit out of scope, but with my connection with the CRCs and with the 2050 plan and the bicentennial really gave us a real leverage up to educate people of the importance of what that canal corridor can offer on quality of life. And finally engaging our canal communities to look beyond just the normal freight of the Erie Canal to get into the biking and the hiking and the parks. And Brian's been very instrumental, and Rebecca, relative to invasive species and other things that help the overall strategy to move the political process and the community forward. So the 2050 plan, I'm a planner by nature, that is phenomenal to give us some vision. It's going to be a dynamic process, but I'm very pleased. And I'll just leave this with the World Canal Conference to meet other people and the struggles they are having with the canal. I think we're really under the NIPA leadership, understanding infrastructure and so forth. We've really starting to leverage up on this beautiful waterway. It's enough. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. How are we doing on time? I know we have other things on the agenda.
I think Steve has got his hand up there, Justine.
Okay. Oh, great. Thank you.
Can you hear me okay? Yeah, I'm doing
Yep.
it on my cell phone.
Thanks,
Thanks so
Steve.
much, Justine. Thanks for your great work.
Mhm.
I'm a retired professional planner. I was a student of my chairman at Cornell, Stu Stein, who was one of the founders of the CRC. That was back in the 80s, and it didn't come to fruition until the mid 90s. But Stu educated me well on the importance of linkages, statewide importance for economic development. I really appreciate my colleagues on the commission. It's a high honor and privilege. And a quick kudos to Director Stratton. We stand on the shoulders of giants, and you're certainly a giant, Director. It's been a true pleasure to work with you on this commission, and we look forward to continuing a friendship forward. And I hope this plan, the 2050 plan, serves as it's a good outline, but the implementation of a plan is always the greatest challenge. Challenges and opportunities are laid out. Key to that, and I'd say the key stakeholders are the communities and the people of statewide communities and constituents. So the canal and Canalway Trail, first envisioned back in the late 80s, mid 90s, now continuing forward into its third century, was a great waterway, center and spine of the state, focus of all our communities along the trail. We need to restore and preserve those linkages, to preserve and enhance all the assets along the Empire Trail and Canalway. It's not just seasonal. There's ice fishermen out behind me today here on the canal. There are cross-country skiers, hikers, dog walkers. Everyone's using the trail, appreciating this great waterway linkage. Not only the Erie East and West held the FRA, that Champlain Canal and Champlain Corridor needs to continue that right up to the northern border with Canada. So it's a high honor and privilege to serve on this Canal Recreationway Commission, and we have a great outline. We've had great leadership. I started in 2014, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to continue as long as the governor and executive staff would appreciate having a retired professional planner on your board. So with that, thanks so much. Onward and upward, and hope we continue a good rapport. Director Stratton.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Justine. Thanks for your good work. Excellent work.
Oh, Fred?
Yeah, just quickly, I think the plan is great, because we're all partners on this, right? It's a great opportunity for canals to be a backbone for all of New York State. and us to collaborate, work together. I know from my desk and state parks, it's an essential recreational partnership. It's an exceptional historic partnership that we have, and I just like the breadth and the width of the plan, and that it takes those elements into account, and the communities that touch on the canal. It's yeah, good solid work. Much appreciated.
Thanks.
Justine, I wonder if you might call on Paul Byer, he's been around a long time, and sometimes is a little quiet, but I know he's got a lot of input. Paul, give us your perspective.
Well, as a planner in the planning office, we do this very often with communities, long-term visions and milestones and accomplishments. So this just seemed like a natural progression. Planning is absolutely necessary. But the thing that I really appreciate over the years, and Brian, you and I have seen this over and over again, is the burgeoning marriage of community development, the world I live in, and canal enthusiasts, the maintenance and operation of the canal. They really are mutually reinforcing, and now they're just, as we saw at the conference, just completely conjoined. So that's been very, very inspiring for me, very worthwhile.
Thanks, Paul. One thing I want you all to share now, if you have it, we have some ideas, but also think about as we get ready for our next meeting. Jackie had mentioned in a conversation we had that we may send around a survey to everyone, and I think that would be a great way to learn more about each of you and what you bring. But what I'd love to hear, if you have them right now, are based in the plan. Are there any priorities that you really want to see us move ahead with? And by us, I mean all of us, not just canals, in the next year. For example, we are really focused on improving accessibility. And we are going to be creating some kind of accessibility survey of the system. We would love your help in figuring that out. Any other thoughts from you all?
May I chime in?
Sure.
Thanks, Justine. So our plan is the outline. We did 250 online surveys, got responses from 250, 200 public workshops and so on. This is a baby step forward toward doing what we really need to do, is identify all the nodes along this spine that is our canal and canalway corridor. I would say a phase one would be within walking distance of the Empire Trail and waterway, would be 3 mile, identify all nodes. So do we have this inventory current of all the cultural and economic development assets, say within walking distance? That's 3 miles. That'd be a first phase. Do it on isochronal bands, time distance bands from the trail and waterway. Roughly 3 miles of easy walking distance, less than an hour for most people. And this addresses ADA and accessibility also. What are the impediments and challenges to cultural resources such as museums, art galleries, restaurants, hotels, all the economic development assets that are along this historic corridor? Also, the second band would be easy biking distance, 5 to 10 miles. I'd say go out 10 miles from the Empire Trail and waterway, identify all those nodes along our spine of the state, both east-west along the Erie as well as Champlain. Whitehall has a lot to offer, Mayor Patorti, and other points. Every community has key assets that they're proud of that would be of interest to travelers. And there are tens of thousands of travelers along this waterway and corridor in all seasons, year round. Good weather, of course, enhances that, but we need to identify all those and promote both interpretive signage as well as, everyone has a cell phone, use the digital linkages, what are they, QR codes and everything else. So use the current technology of the time to promote the economic opportunities to really get the maximum benefit for the key stakeholders being the communities and public statewide. Isochronal bands, all the nodes along the trail, close in, walking distance, and then second level, easy biking distance. And we might even include another level of easy auto, vehicular travel, less than, say, what do you say, 20 minutes, half hour drive from the Empire Trail as a third level of time distance study of all the important assets along this spine of our state. And that would promote economic development and greatest and highest and best land use of our preserved resource and best bang for the buck for all constituents and voters statewide. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else have a project laid out for themselves? Like Steve? No, just kidding.
When I started, we didn't have the Empire Trail. It's just beyond my imagination that we actually, the state powers that be, were able to pull this great Empire Trail off along the waterway.
Right.
Yeah.
I think if you take Steve's message, and Jen, we need to understand each section of the corridor. I think it has different opportunities for visual vista views. Up the western end here, fishing is more important to us as a starter for economic impact. Under Reimagine the Canal, we leave the canal open longer, more water, more fish. We're exploding in the tourism and the fishing industry up here, which is a great asset. And through this drought cycle, we had 28 siphons helping our farmers. They had bumper crops even during drought. So each segment of the canal offers different opportunities. So I'm hoping to work with the CRCs and the whole 500 plus miles and look at opportunities and sections to see how we can really foster the whole system. That's my 2 cents. Thanks.
So a regional approaches.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Michelle?
I would want to follow that up because, my favorite line is, we're blessed with 500 miles plus, but we're cursed with 500 miles plus. So you can't put it all in one basket or bucket. That, as we've talked about, there are different opportunities and some real standout things within each. So I wouldn't want it to become homogenous. I mean, the waterway is the waterway, but the treasures that you find along those 500 plus miles really need to be. And that to me is, quite frankly, many years of marketing, which is where I come from, and great opportunities for marketing the canal over a long term, and would have to be kind of outlined out on, how we're going to do it. I wouldn't go east to west or west to east. You can pop in things along good population areas, and I think there are opportunities there too. And so, we're not cursed, we are blessed, and we need to figure out how to really promote that blessing.
So I agree with what my fellow commissioners have just said, and what it brings me to is, do we have the right CRC mix and model to look at all of these issues, challenges, the way we currently are formed? And we could talk about regional approaches. We could talk about agriculture and fishing as one bucket, or economic development as another, but they're all gonna be a part of the whole. So I've been thinking a lot. One of the things in the plan was to align the staffing and operations with the needs of a parks network. So I'd like to take a look at that and see if there should be or could be some changes to the CRC composition. Should we be bigger? Should we be smaller? Again, should we lean in more with state agencies? I think we've done a great job with that. And can we do more to address some of these topics that have just been raised? I would also like some help and guidance as a CRC member on this issue of land abandonment and the decisions that we make. Michelle and I have talked about this for years now, and some guidance from and technical assistance when we dispose of 4 or 10 or 12 acres of land. What is it that we're really conveying? What is it that we're saying about the land that the Canal Corporation owns? So some help in that in the next year would certainly be appreciated by me. So aligning staff, the land abandonment, the visitor experience. This is in the plan. I think we get different experiences at each community. I think we should work on making every visitor experience exceptional, whatever that means for the community. Not artificial, not man-made, authentic, but how do we do that? How do we make the visitor experience exceptional for everyone who comes to a community? And then codify that somehow. I don't know. But that seems really important too. So when people come from international destinations and they come here to see us, it's an exceptional experience. I have about 10 more and I won't go through those projects right now. But how about that for my top 3?
That's great, Cal. Thank you. And I just want to point out that Jean did put in the chat links to our amenities studies and the New York State Canal map, which has a lot of great information on it. If I think that we updated you at the last meeting about the amenities study and an amenities gap, but it is also looking at the system as a series of nodes and linkages, but specifically about certain kinds of recreation. So I loved Steve talking about sort of the cultural overlay on that. And it's a great tool that we're hoping to expand to the Champlain Canal and other areas in the future. All right, well, thank you for this conversation. Obviously, we have a lot to dive into, and I'm hoping that we will, in the new year, create some working groups on these topics so that we can advance things even when we're not just meeting, quarterly, outside of the quarterly meeting. And we are certainly working on a lot of these things internally and hope to turn to you all for meaningful support on the different topics.
Justine, thank you very much. I would like to ask B if you would like to add any other commentary. Certainly you've seen the report, you know how important it is looking forward, where the canals are going. Certainly the governor's commitment and the trustees' commitment to supporting the infrastructure and to make sure we have a solid path going forward for the next 100 years. Is there anything you'd like to add for the benefit of the CRC members?
No, other than all of the comments and recommendations are viable and really important, right? And I agree with what everybody said already. I think the other piece that I find really exciting is the enhancement of the story of the canal, the history of the canal, and the broadening of the storytelling, right? To be more inclusive of all the populations of New York across that canal. Nobody mentioned that, so I thought I'd put it just to not lose sight.
Very good. And that certainly is part of the narrative and an important part that we try to stress. There are many aspects through the bicentennial commemoration, and especially in the documentary series that WMHT put forward. So
and there's more opportunities because the state park system is beginning to celebrate the 250th.
Yeah.
Through the state park system. So it'll be another opportunity to partner with state parks and canals and to continue to enhance the storytelling.
Those of us who may be watching the Ken Burns series that's airing on the Revolution, it's gone through quickly, but I haven't been able to keep up. But I get the Passport program, so I've been going along at my own pace. And in episode number 5, which I was watching last night, features the Sullivan campaign, which was a tremendous tremendous travesty to the indigenous people of New York State, that there was just widespread devastation and destruction of their homeland and of the people, themselves. So very sad stories in the midst of what's supposed to be a happy time for our country in 2026. And it also goes back to something Mayor Patorni was saying, that the Champlain Canal is very important. And in fact, Whitehall, I'm learning both through the Ken Burns series and another book that I'm reading, Whitehall played a very important part during the Revolution and the British invasion that came down from Lake Champlain. Whitehall, formerly Gainsborough, is that correct, Mayor?
Yes.
That is correct. Yeah. And I think we have next year, we have a big celebration too, just the week after Sasquatch, the 250th year for the Navy is being a celebration here in Whitehall for 3 days. So that's
Very
something to
good.
look forward to. Yeah.
Well, it's a tremendous part, and it plays a very high role, particularly in the book that I've been reading about the Saratoga campaign and all that led to the battle that took place there in 1777. So it's been very interesting following that along. And thank you, B, for those comments. Those are well spoken and well received. All right. Well, we have to go on to our next portion of the CRC meeting. Any other comments or questions or welfare comments either from CRC commissioners or other representatives that are on our meeting this morning? Without any of those, then let's move on to the operations update. And Dave Mellon and Ambrose are here. Dave, thank you for being with us. And I know we're heading into a busy winter maintenance season. The winter maintenance meeting just concluded in Geneva, and many of our staff members were out in Geneva earlier this week. Rebecca and I traveled to White Plains for the trustees meeting, and we're not able to make that, but Shane, Jackie, Georgia, and others were there, as well as Dave. So Dave, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Good afternoon, everyone. Great to be here. I'm first going to turn it over to Ambrose Barbuto, who heads up all of our maintenance efforts at canals, and then I'll say a few words after that. So, Ambrose?
Hey, thanks, Dave. Good afternoon, everyone. So, yeah, we're right in the heart of our winter work now. Just a slight recap of the season, right? We had a little bit of a slow start due to some weather and then some operational issues out in the east. But after we got through that, it really was a great season. I know it was a drought, but couldn't ask for better boating weather for the rest of the season. And we really rebounded pretty nicely with our traffic and had a couple extra weeks at the end. So really good season, especially with all the events we had along the whole system. It turned out great. And yeah, now we're into our winter work. These are the locations we're going to be this winter for our pump outs in the east. We'll be at Champlain 4, E6, E3, E14, and E21. And as it says there on the screen, some of these are continuations from work we started last year. And in the west, we'll be up at the Oswego at Lock 2, Cave Seneca 1, Lock E32 there in Pittsford, and then back to Lock 4, E34 to 35. Unfortunately, the weather hasn't been great this year. I think it's going to be a good old-fashioned winter, but we're working through it. Look forward to get a lot of work done, and I think before you know it, we'll be here in May and hopefully ready to open again. So thank you for all your support, and I'll turn it over to Dave.
Okay, thanks, Ambrose. So Brian, you mentioned the fall maintenance meeting, which was yesterday and the day before in Geneva, New York, and it's really grown into a significant gathering on an annual basis, not only for our maintenance leadership, but for a lot of other leadership in the organization. So we had over 100 people there, and we kind of put a lot on the table, summary information, where we're headed, and a variety of other things. So it's a really informative meeting, and I'll just share some of the highlights. Lots of progress happening on the training front. Ambrose is heading most of that up. And just it really goes to right down to the core of our workforce and how well trained they are. Everything from equipment training to safety training. There's a heavy focus now on crane training. So a lot going on positive relative to training our workforce. So a lot going on as well in terms of investing in new equipment and technology so we can do our jobs more safely and also optimize the workforce we have. In a lot of cases, the technology that we're investing in is really allowing us to accomplish a lot more work, particularly relative to inspections of our dams and embankments. So progress there continues. That's not a new concept. We've been at that for a few years, but we're still breaking ground in many areas. Water management, big part of what we do at canals. We've got a very good team there. Numerous people managing water 24/7 on the canal system. And at this point, in preparation for all the winter work, we're just about there in terms of getting most of the reservoirs to winter levels. Some are still progressing, and I think the 60-mile pool west of Rochester is close. A few more feet to go there, but we're pretty much at our winter levels wherever we need to be or close there too. And sometime in the first quarter of 26, there's going to be a new water management system rolled out at Canal. So it's basically a new system utilizing technology that will allow us to better manage, more efficiently manage the water across the entire system in a very transparent manner internally, and there'll also be a public-facing component that folks will be able to get to. So keep an eye out for that. We talked about some new strategies as well over the past few days. Mowing was one of them, and Canal mows thousands of hours every year. Lots of mowing and vegetation work at canals. We're trying to get a better handle on that to perhaps strategically reduce some mowing and therefore be able to utilize those resources in a more effective way for perhaps more important work. So that's a new effort. And, there are many other things, discussed as well over the past few days, but I think the overarching theme is the framework of Vision 2030, which is our immediate strategic plan, our shorter term strategic plan. And, obviously there's a very heavy focus on the infrastructure and obtaining resources and funding to do all that necessary work. But there's also a third component that surrounds connecting people to the system. And a lot of that ties into a lot of the discussions I'm hearing not only today, but in the past with this crowd. So, everything is kind of guided by that, and just lots of good stuff happening at canals on the operational front and lots of work to do for sure. So that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dave. Looks like a very active season. I'm not sure if we're going to offer the opportunity for you to come out and join us at pump outs, but Shane will certainly reach out if that's an opportunity. Looks like we have a list that is shorter, a little less extensive than normal winters, but might be a little more work there. And of course, you never know what the weather will hold. And so far, it's been a very active late fall. We haven't even officially, as far as the calendar goes, gotten into the winter season yet, but we will be there very soon. So any questions for Dave or Ambrose on winter maintenance work and the fall maintenance meeting that just wrapped up in Geneva?
Thanks, Dave and Ambrose. It's Rebecca. You noted that 3 out of the 8 pump outs are continuations, and I think that's a trend we've seen more of in recent years, where you're engaging at a single lock for more than 1 year. Could you share with the CRC a little bit about what drives that? What's the nature of the work that continues on? And is that because we're doing different work during pump outs, or is it because of the state of the locks? Could you just share a little bit more insight there?
Sure. You want me to tackle this one, Dave?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'll start if you had anything to add. Yeah, I think it's a couple fronts here. We hire quite a few seasonals still for the winter, so many winter seasons, you're training brand new seasonals to help the permanent staff. So there's always that learning curve. We don't have a full staff that's done this many years to throw right at it. That's part of it. But I think also, the locks, many of them have gone many years now since they've had a full rehab. So when you do get in there for that pump out that you haven't been there for 10 years, there's a lot of times we're finding there's even more work to do than maybe we did at the last pump out 10 years ago. So I think it's a combination of things. But I think those are the main things we run into. And of course, many times until you actually pump the lock out, sometimes you generally have an idea of what needs to be done. But many of those components have been underwater and you haven't seen them till you actually pump it out. So sometimes there's things you get in there and you realize, oh, we have a little bit more work to do than we thought we did. So we really need to turn this into a 2-year pump out versus a 1 year. So I don't know, Dave, if you have anything to add, but
I would just say that when you consider all that's going on at the Canal Corporation during the off season, the pump outs are definitely highlighted projects. They're critical maintenance work. They're probably our heaviest lift during the winter, but there's also, another 40 some locks that have activity planned work going on for the winter there. And there's also other maintenance work going on at other locations. So when you take all of our staff and you spread it against all that, you're left with a number of staff that we can allocate to the pump outs. You could have a very busy pump out, might be in the 15, 18 people assigned to that pump out. Okay. So then to Ambrose's point, once we lower the water and really are able to pin down the scope of work, it may not be possible in the context of 4 months or 4.5 months of winter weather where productivity tends to be a little lower to get all that done. So there we get into a 2-year pump out or even a 3-year pump out. Now some locations are better than others and we can get it done in 1 year. So it comes down to basically scope of work, time of year, and staff available. And that's why we do 8 to 10 pump outs a year. If we could, we'd do more, but too many other things would suffer. That's about it.
Both. Yeah, that's great. I think, for the CRC, who's, the Recreationway Commission and thinking about this really expansive vision for 2050, it's this kind of context is really helpful as the backdrop to what it means to maintaining through navigation, to stewarding a historic system that's remained in operation now for more than 200 consecutive seasons. So thank you for elaborating on that. I think it's just a really powerful backdrop as we think about why we do this work. We keep it operating for safety, for public use, for commercial shipping, but also as the canal continues to be this amazing economic driver. We're really thankful for the hard work that goes in during the worst months of the year.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Ambrose. Any other questions or comments relative to our maintenance work or the operations team? The next item on the agenda says special message from Director Stratton. And I think I may have already started that at the beginning, but obviously this has been my final CRC meeting that I'll have the opportunity to preside over. And keep in mind that I'm only the acting chair. By law, the chairman of the Power Authority and the Canal Corporation Board of Directors, John Colmel, is the true chair of the CRC. But our chairman has been kind enough to entrust me to lead these meetings, and that's been wonderful. I just want to, briefly say what an honor it has been to have had a career where I've been able to do something that I truly love. And I can't believe that I've lasted this long and that it's been so long. I came into this in this position in April of 2011. So if I stayed until April, it would be 15 years solid. But it's been the job of a lifetime. continue to believe that it's the best job ever in state government. And I have been blessed not only to do what I love and the wonderful history of the canal. I've been so fortunate to work with such an amazing team of people. Uh, Rebecca, Shane, Jackie, Mike, um, Angela, and Dave, Ambrose, all of you are just wonderful public servants, and anything that I've been able to do, or any way that I've been able to look good, has really been a credit to them, because our amazing team does so much work, and the director is sort of the front person, and so I mostly get credit for maybe something that I didn't have all that much to do with, but it is a team effort. So it has just been a treasure to have this. But I think, I'm no longer a young kid, and I think it's a great opportunity to pass the torch to the next generation. We have done some amazing things. When I served as mayor in Schenectady from 2004 to 2011, my mantra was always leave it better than when you found it. And we certainly did that. Schenectady would not have gone on to have its meteoric rise and its reinvention and its downtown birth and growth, had it not been for the crucial work that we did under my team there to stabilize the finances and to put Schenectady back on strong financial footing. And similarly, I can't think of how much more we have done here to rebuild the infrastructure, to make the canal a central part of our upstate economic engine, and to have a governor that is so passionate and so connected uh, to the operation and to the future. And anyone who has followed the governor knows she loves to cruise the canal in her private time. She uses the canal as a metaphor for the state's spirit, the state's growth. And she is committed, and that's certainly been evidenced in the past two fiscal budget cycles by $50 million in additional capital funding for critical uh, infrastructure needs. And she is, if you've heard her speak and you heard her remarks during the World Canals Conference, she has committed firmly that the canal is here to stay and that we will continue to invest in it because it is part of our identity. So it is a great opportunity and a great time to take stock of how much we've done and how much better this asset and this infrastructure and this organization is, and to inspire myself to follow those who will follow me, and to cheer you on. In my next life, I have the opportunity to volunteer a little bit, and to do some of that, I'm also going to take the opportunity to ski a little bit more. And I have a new home that I'm trying to get settled, and I want to thank everyone who was so generous and supportive in our gathering we had last week. I have a couple of extra dollars to put into that home. Not enough to pay off the whole mortgage, but maybe a small fraction, or a small micro fraction. But thank you so much. And whoever is going to be leading this organization going forward, or will come in my place, is up to the governor, and we'll probably find that out soon. But you can be assured that this is a agency that is very important to her, and the Erie Canal and the New York State Canal system is very important to her. And we see that not only from the governor, but from the first gentleman too. So and from our chairman and our trustees. I will just repeat what I told the trustees at our gathering, that it's taken a while, but I think we have an organization within the Power Authority and the trustees that has truly come to appreciate the opportunity to make the canals as strong as they can be. And the Power Authority has done a tremendous amount to promote that, and to invest in that, and be your service along with your colleagues have been wonderful to really recognize, support, champion, and to participate and to be there with us. So I can feel very, very proud of the work that we have done. So I'm not going away. I will certainly be there to help you and to advise. But let me just say thank you all for making this job so wonderful and for all of your service and for your continued service. I will always love the canals, and it'll always be close to me, and it's something that I won't turn my head away from. I'm looking forward to the next chapter as we go on. So that's my special message, I guess, as fast as I can think of it. Thank you all, and thank you for your support.
And kudos to you, Director.
Oh, thank you. Let's go on to the next portion as you dry your tears. And that would be other business and general discussion. So we have other business coming up, and we have a new year getting underway very, very soon, not before we celebrate the holidays. And I know that something we've tried to do, but I think is going to happen, that our dates for our next CRC meeting, in fact, all four of them are going to be put into stone. Maybe in honor of my departure, that in January you will know when every four meetings of the four quarters are going to be scheduled, so you can get them into your calendar and lock them in, and they won't be moving targets. So, Kim, I don't suppose we have one yet for the first quarter, either in February or March.
I provided some dates to Kim. There we go. We looked at the historic data. So Kim, thank you for pulling this together. I just wanted to see what that cadence looked like. And we've got some proposed dates for 2026. At this point, they do not conflict with Erie Canalway's board meetings, with NYPA's board meetings, or other, scheduled seasonal events that would bring a lot of our staff away. So Kim's going to be circulating those four dates. Of course, they could change. Of course, we've got to contemplate whether those are in person or virtual. I believe the next one that we have slated that I proposed to her was February 12th, 2026. So Kim will be circulating those to see if we can, at least pencil them in. And obviously life happens and, things could always change. But to the extent possible, we'll seek to get all four of those meetings scheduled so that you can plan ahead for them. And if you have suggestions for, any ways that we can improve the format, whether it's virtual, hybrid, or in person, please do share that feedback with us. And we're targeting, for each of the dates that she shares, 1 p.m. to 2:30, as usual, reserving about 90 minutes. And then, as I think was kind of alluded to with Justine's guided discussion, also looking to the CRC to participate in subgroups and to look at ways that we can take some action items around the 2050 plan. So we'll have more of those small group meetings in between our quarterly meetings this year as well. So any questions on that, you're welcome to raise them, or if you have any suggestions, we're very happy to hear them, but stay tuned for more from Kim.
Thank you, Kim. Good luck. We'll keep you posted. Kim will keep you posted of our next. And now we go on to the public comment. I know Kim Vorsheimer is with us, and from SK Yards. We had the opportunity to stop in and see a couple of weeks ago. And Kim, is there any comments for the good and welfare of this organization that you would like to offer?
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes, I have enjoyed listening to this and getting to know various people that are involved in the promotion of the Erie Canal system. As a person who has worked at a service facility for the canal since 1977, I have certainly seen a lot of changes in the direction and functionality of the canal. I do find sometimes that boaters are not always in the forefront of discussions, that it becomes more hiker, biker, paddle crafter, etc. However, I think that the user of the canal that's a boater, sailboater, or power boater often is in the background of many of the discussions that everybody has, which is unfortunate, because basically the canal is the primary highway from the Atlantic Ocean to the Great Lakes. So sometimes I feel like that's unfortunate, but I try to vocalize that when I can to whoever I see. And there were a couple things when Shane and Brian stopped by that I asked about. And one was, I know that in the canal system, there's been a lot of shallowing because of various tributaries that come in to the canal. And I asked at that time, I noticed when the barge went through to pick up all the markers in our area, I said, you know, the Day Peckinpah, when it used to run through, would run through as a full, you know, it would sit under the water about 10 to 12 feet. And it basically naturally dredged the canal system without having to pay to use equipment to take dredge out of the canal system and then deal with the spoils, as it's often referred to. And I said at that time, I go, why is it that they can't use that barge basically to run the canal on and off during the season? Because it would naturally just move whatever's in the water to the sides. It's not taking it out. It's not disrupting the environmental ecosystem. It's basically just plowing a path, as the Peckinpah did for many, 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 many years. So I thought I would inject that. And the other thing that I also talked about involved the odor resource guide, which I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with this, which was put out this year by the Canal Corporation. And I know they've been working on it for a long time. Okay, so this is what the boater gets. This guide, which is put out by the Erie Canalway, which is like this and very full of information, is what a paddle crafter gets. And I'm like, why is there such a big discrepancy? Why is it that the guidebook that's given out to paddle crafters and kayakers, why is it so complete with information on where to go, what to do, what facilities there are, but yet for a person who has a boat coming through, it's nothing. I mean, it's just, it's interesting. So the Canal Corporation, maybe they, instead of putting out their own publication, maybe they can combine with the Erie Canalway and just put out one book that is utilized by everybody. I mean, it's silly to separate that publication, in my opinion, working with the boating population, active boating population that actually, contributes a lot of economics into the various towns that they, travel through or stop at or patronize or whatever. And the other thing is that I noticed in the CRC report, when you have the map of New York State and you have various communities listed on there, you do not put Brewerton. And for those people who boat on the canal, Brewerton is the largest repair service area on the entire canal system. There's and it's interesting because some of the smaller communities, which rightfully so have a lot of history on the canal system. But I think if somebody is actually looking at it from a voting perspective, they're not always going to remember those small towns, but they will always remember Brewerton because it's where they go for winter storage. It's where they go for repairs. It's where basically the junction before you go to Oswego or before you go west to Buffalo. And I think it should always be included on a map because it offers a lot to the voting public, excuse me. And I also think that, and I noticed that this was part of the CRC, I do think that you should charge for the usage of the system. And I know that people have said, no, they don't want to do that because it's too difficult to collect the money. But everybody does it online. And there's absolutely no reason why maybe the canal can focus, instead of doing this, they can focus on creating a web app where people can go and buy their pass ahead of time. Trent Severn does it. The St. Lawrence and the Welland Canal does it. You know, I mean, we're basically the only system of our size that's free, which is ridiculous. And I think that also, you know, many of you are supporting the development of towns and amenities at those towns. Well, as many of you may or may not notice over the years, that whenever you do something for free, it gets abused and then it's not maintained and then it goes downhill. So for the first 10 years, it might be great, but then it goes downhill because the various towns don't put the maintenance of it in their town budgets because they were initially given a grant to make it nice, but they don't consider the upkeep and the maintenance. And so for that reason, I also think that when you do stuff like that, when you do give communities and all this stuff money for free power, free water, free this, free that, that you should encourage the towns like Little Falls does to charge the people some money for those amenities. I mean, it's only right, in my opinion.
Well, let's get some feedback on that. And I apologize, Kim, I didn't get these. You're right. We did talk about these issues when Shane and I stopped in. And just to recap, Kim had mentioned that the day Peckinpah for years would come through, and naturally by its girth and its draw would serve as a dredger, or at least to split open the channel. Of course, we haven't owned the day Peckinpah for many years. It was a property of the state museum and was recently sold and was moved out of the Waterford Flight and is somewhere down the Hudson now. So that ship has sailed, pardon the pun. But it does raise the point of, dredging is something that's very intensive, very capital intensive, and something that we are always on top of, and not just in Brewerton, but in other parts of the state where the silting and all those other things go on. So I know Dave and Ambrose are both on here and listening to that, and maybe they can give you some input to what the dredging schedule might be. And then your second point is well received. Certainly, the very comprehensive and detailed and highly informative paddle guide set that Gene and the Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor put together a couple of years ago and update regularly and provide free of charge to people who want it, would be a good template to follow for updating our boater resource guide. And you also know that we used to have a cruising guide, which was a much more intensive document and had sponsorships in it. And I know that Shane has talked to you about that many times. So those are very good observations and good goals certainly going into 2026, I particularly like your observation about, more information about maps, things to do, wayfinding for the boater. And let's not lose sight of the fact that we do cater to boaters. And of course, the chief executive of our state is one of the very active boaters, and as well as Bee and her husband Mike. And I know the governor and the first gentleman want to get out on the Oswego Canal and check that off of their list. So they may even be coming by your by SK Yards if they travel out from Buffalo after the campaign is over. So those are well taken. Any of our staff want to report on that? Either Dave or Ambrose on dredging, Shane on the boater resource guide, Gene on what your experience has been putting together the paddle guide.
I can just say on the dredging, in terms of where the crews are focusing at this time of year, I would have to get back to this group, and I can do that. I know we spent a lot of time in the Utica area. I'm looking at the October schedule right now, in October and November. Also some time at the Genesee River crossing. So I just can't today explain, December, January, February, what we're looking at. I have to get back to you unless Ambrose has that at his fingertips.
No, I don't. And, the spring schedule looks a bit different than even what we might know today because we have to assess after the spring runoff kind of where the trouble spots, like Dave said, we hit a lot of the Utica area, especially a lot of creeks come in. And to your point, Kim, like pushing some of that in that area, I mean, it may buy a week or two, but that continuously fills in from all those creeks. So it may not work,
I get that, Ambrose. I do, but I do think that if there's some regularity, that it would be better. Because I mean, nothing ventured, nothing gained. It's probably a less expensive way of dredging than it is by using cranes and putting it on the, taking it out. And I mean, I don't know, it it worked for how many years did the Peck and Paw go through? And how many years has the Peck and Paw not gone through and that all has, come in, right? There's all that's come in. That's all. I didn't think it would be, I just figured it might be a little bit more economical to do it that way, to try it.
Understood.
Anyway.
Well, understand, Kim, that the day of the Peckinpah is, behind us, and large scale commercial traffic is far less than probably what it was during that time. So there's not a vessel that I know of in our floating plant that has the size of that and the natural ability to do that. So this is something that must be strategically planned and folded into the operations maintenance. But I know Ambrose and Dave have heard your concerns, and certainly they can provide more feedback on what might be planned in the navigation the season ahead. We are coming up toward the end of our allotted time, and I want to keep everyone on schedule as we go through. Gene, is there anything else on the paddle guide relative to Kim's? Is that something that you would love to take on, to turn the paddle guide into a cruising guide?
Thanks, Brian. And Kim, I always appreciate hearing your perspective. So thanks for sharing that. I think in the last few years, we have certainly been focused on expanding the audience of canal users and stakeholders, but not meaning to do that to the detriment of the core audience of boaters. And so I do think it's worth really getting around back to looking at the services and the things that we provide to boaters too. Certainly the paddle guide has some things that really are very specific to the needs of paddlers, which are different than boaters. I do think the basic core information could be translated for boaters, but yeah, I think part of it is updating that book is not inexpensive. We're about to do our 3rd edition of it, and it's around $100,000 republication each time we do it. So, but certainly the core information is absolutely solid and great, and so it's something that we can certainly talk about with Canal Corporation and look at, what that would look like. I'd also like to just take 1 minute of your public time to say thank you to Brian on behalf of the Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor. Brian, we have so appreciated your partnership and your collaboration over these many years, and your stewardship of the canal system. And we've been proud to work with you towards that goal. You have been tenacious. Your perseverance has been remarkable over the years. And that is everything from small things like where is my calendar to the big things like let's get going on various initiatives. And I also want to just acknowledge how much you show up for communities and sites along the canal. And that is not an easy thing because it means you're on the road all the time, going to events, going to meetings, going to various things. That's a very, it's a remarkable thing that you've done for communities. And I think that those shoes are harder to fill in some ways than a lot of other ones. So I hope we're able to continue to show up consistently and be listening and out in the field. So we certainly wish you well, and we'll miss you. Thank you.
Jean. Thank you. That's lovely. Thank you so much. And I always follow the Woody Allen philosophy that 90% is just showing up. And but I truly love the travel, and I'm going to miss that immensely. I've already been invited to return to the 2026 Canal Society Winter Symposium in March. And without Canal One, without my state wheels to fly, I'm not sure if getting there is going to be easy. So if you see me with my thumb out at exit 23 off of the thruway looking to go west, pull over and let me hop in the back. I love it, and I'm looking forward to exploring a little bit more around here. But it's been great working with you. We've had the opportunity to be side by side for almost all of those 15 years, except for your brief respite when you went to Connecticut and then found your way back. And it was great. Thank you. Okay, so we have talked about public comment. We have a date for our next meeting, which Kim is going to work on. Are there any other comments that we would like to share before we adjourn? And wish everyone a wonderful and happy holiday season. I don't hear a rousing applause. I saw Steve tuning up his fiddle. I thought I was going to get maybe a little tune to send me off, but probably not. No, I can't hear you. You're on mute, but that's all right. Okay, you can come and do it on our front lawn. That'd be great. Thank you all. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Moved by Frappatorti. Second.
Roller.
Okay, Kendra Roller moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to adjourn? Thankfully, no. The motion to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say no. We are adjourned for my final meeting. Thank you all. I love you.
Thank you, Brian.
And I'll miss
Thank
you
you.
all.
Thank you.
Thank you.